Imagine lounging on a super yacht that costs more than a small country's entire annual budget, sipping a drink that looks suspiciously like liquid gold, and casually telling a camera that ordinary people just don't want to work hard anymore. It is honestly hilarious how a billionaire will look a worker dead in the eye, refuse to raise their minimum wage by even a single dollar, ship their entire manufacturing pipeline across the world to China for the absolute cheapest labor possible, and then turn around to preach about the holy virtues of diligence and sacrifice if you want to end up successful just like them. They love to act like they built their entire empire with nothing but a hammer, a dream, and a really solid morning routine, while completely leaving out the part where they cut every single corner to pad their own pockets. But have you ever stopped to wonder why they are so eager to hand you the supposed blueprint to their massive success? Do you honestly believe these tech titans and corporate giants want you to climb up the ladder, build your own empire, and actually compete with them on a level playing field? The blunt truth is that they absolutely do not want you to compete with them, and they will spend millions of dollars ensuring you never even get the chance. There is a famous quote by Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel that perfectly exposes their entire mindset, where he boldly stated that competition is for losers. While they are out in public telling you that the free market is a beautiful open playing field where the hardest worker always wins, behind closed doors, they are playing an entirely different game called destroy the competition before it even starts. Think about it like this. If a passionate local entrepreneur decides to open up a small independent grocery store down the street, they don't just have to outwork the massive supermarket chain across town. They have to survive against a multi-billion-dollar corporate empire that can artificially drop its prices below cost for months at a time just to starve the newcomer out, safely backed by massive tax cuts and unregulated industry protections. They don't want more billionaires entering the arena. They want to protect their own castle. And they use powerful corporate lobbies to write massive stacks of complicated regulations that act like a giant brick wall for small businesses, while leaving an open back door for themselves. They socialize their massive losses with government bailouts when their risky corporate gambles fail, yet they privatize every single cent of the profit when things go well. But how do they keep millions of ordinary, frustrated workers quiet and compliant while the entire game is actively being rigged against them? To keep the whole machine running smoothly without anyone rebelling, the system deploys its favorite psychological weapon, the multi-million-dollar industry of hustle culture. You have definitely seen these hyperactive motivational speakers on your feed, shouting into a high-end microphone over dramatic cinematic music about how you are failing in life because you aren't waking up at 4 a.m. to run a marathon and read 3 books before sunrise. The truly hilarious part is that if you actually look at the track records of these self-proclaimed gurus, most of them haven't actually built a single remarkable, tangible company or done anything outstanding in the real business world. Their entire business model is literally just selling you advice on how to be successful. They operate as the ultimate public relations arm for megacorporations because their entire grind harder narrative forces you to turn your frustration inward and blame your own personal discipline for systemic problems. When you are completely exhausted, burnt out, and still struggling to pay your rising rent, the system uses these speakers to tell you that the problem isn't stagnating wages or outsourced jobs, but rather your own lack of desire. They desperately want you to believe that if you just work a little bit harder for the corporate machine, you will magically unlock the golden gates of wealth, completely ignoring the fact that worker productivity has gone through the roof over the last few decades while ordinary paychecks have barely moved an inch. They want you focused entirely on running faster and faster on their treadmill, so you never stop to look at who actually controls the speed settings. But what happens to your mind, your health, and your future when you give your absolute best years to a system that views you as nothing more than a replaceable line on a spreadsheet? This is exactly where the macroeconomics of billionaires stops being an abstract news headline and turns into your deeply personal, everyday exhaustion. When you pull a brutal 9-to-5 shift, battle an hour of mind-numbing traffic on the way home, and finally collapse onto your couch with barely enough brainpower left to decide what to watch on Netflix, you are paying the ultimate hidden tax of the corporate world. You have to ask yourself the deeply vital question. If you are spending every single ounce of your daily energy, your sharpest focus, and your most creative ideas building another person's massive dream, what could you possibly have left over to build your own? It is a beautifully sinister cycle of modern labor exploitation, where they pay you just enough to survive, but demand so much of your physical and mental stamina that you are effectively locked out of ever having the time or clarity to plan your own escape. It is almost comedic how we are expected to show up to an office and give intense loyalty to a mega corporation that would literally replace your entire existence with a job posting before your obituary is even printed if you dropped dead tomorrow. You are essentially trapped trading your finite, irreplaceable years on this earth for zero equity, zero ownership, and a tiny fixed paycheck that loses its purchasing power every single year to inflation. You are giving away your prime years to an executive who doesn't even respect you enough to incentivize your labor fairly, which begs the ultimate question. If you are completely drowning in their system, how are you ever supposed to break the chains, flip the script, and finally start working for yourself? The only way to win a game that is completely rigged against you is to stop playing by their rules entirely and start building your own leverage. At the end of the day, you are absolutely never going to fulfill your deepest dreams or find true financial freedom by working your fingers to the bone for a mega corporation. Because to them, you aren't a valued team member. You are simply the person a billionaire delegates their hard work to, so they can spend their afternoons floating around the Mediterranean. It is time to draw a line in the sand and make a firm, conscious decision to stop pouring your sweat and tears into a corporate machine that doesn't respect you enough to incentivize your labor fairly, and instead start treating your time like the incredibly valuable commodity that it actually is. The ultimate escape hatch from this exhausting cycle isn't about wishing the system would suddenly become nice or waiting for a tiny raise that barely covers your groceries. It is about completely taking control of your economic value by learning a high-paying, specialized skill and deeply mastering your chosen craft. Whether that means becoming an expert in digital design, mastering a programming language, or understanding the deep mechanics of independent video game development, you need to acquire knowledge that cannot be easily replaced by a cheap corporate pipeline or a piece of basic software. When you possess a real high-value skill that you genuinely own, you suddenly gain the power to stop begging for a fair paycheck and start commanding a fair reward for your actual labor on your own terms. It is definitely going to require massive effort, and you are still going to have to grind, but there is a world of difference between being exhausted from building your own future and being exhausted from lining a billionaire's pockets. Let's be totally honest. If you are going to work incredibly hard anyway, you might as well do it for a boss who actually cares about your survival, your family, and your happiness, which is you. Stop being the unpaid extra in someone else's corporate success story. Take your energy back and start aggressively working for yourself, because your dreams are far too valuable to be traded for a cubicle and a pat on the back.